go ahead and call our meeting back to order. Mr. Shawnee, will you read us out of closed, please?
Yes, I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: for discussion of the award of a public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers, and discussion of the terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body at 2.23711A29 of the Code of Virginia. I also move to certify that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened, were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Greenway.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Linden.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Petrani.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes, ma'am. Item 3.01, actually, there's no action from closed. We scoot on by that. 3.01, financial reports for capital projects.
That's just something for an FYI, so.
These are just the reports that go with, since this is a construction work session, I wanted you to have all of the reserves reports, so we could have that everything.
Okay, but we don't need to talk about it. Okay.
Thank you. Item 4.01, Hidden Valley High School baseball field lip. Mr. Todd Kegels.
We were asked to come out and take a look at the lip that exists between the infield and the outfield out at Hidden Valley High School. And just sort of a disclaimer, this isn't my diagram. I found this diagram online. And it shows some idea of what the lips are. These result typically from normal use. Some of the surface gets blown out into the grass and just kind of stacks up right at the edge, and then also from some poor grooming practices. When you sweep the infields, you drag the infields, if you're constantly sweeping the dirt towards the outside edge, you just compound that, and when you add that up over 20 years, you can get significant lips right there. So
Haven't we got history with this?
I believe so.
Yeah, I thought so. Huh.
And I actually was not aware of some of the history until Mr. Linden brought it to my attention that you all had looked at some of these lips in the past. I was aware that the one at Bird High was repaired. That was actually being done
And when we did that,
into this role.
When we did that, it was, I think, about 45 or 50 grand.
Yeah, it was right at
And I had to
50,000.
give all the other members 45 or 50 grand for their fields, correct?
That's right. And
Okay.
Glenver High School actually used some of that to fix a lip on their baseball field
Okay.
also, actually last summer. And so this is a photograph of the lip at Hidden Valley High School. So the way we measured these, we took a laser level out and set it up on the infield, and then measured the height at the dirt, then at the top of the grass, and then at the low point behind the grass. And this one actually, and we did that for all the fields in the county, not just this one at Hidden Valley, all the ones we maintain. And so this one measures about 6.7 inches, and there's the complete reports available to the board in board docs. Typical height of a stair in the United States is about 7.5 inches.
You pull your mic, top of your mic closer to you.
So the typical height of a stair is about 7.5 inches. So you can see this is a significant problem. If you're in the infield and you're running to the outfield, that drop is almost as much as taking a full step in a set of in a staircase. It needs to be repaired. Now, if you look at the report, there's lips on almost every field that we have. This is the worst. There is no. I tried to find a standard for what's an acceptable lip. There, at least from what I could find, there is no standard set for that. This one, given it's excessive and it needs to be repaired. Now every field is different in terms of the way the lips are formed and what would have to be done to fix them. Bird softball, actually the coaches fix theirs. Now theirs was a different sort of lip. That one was more on the infield side where they could just cut out a small section. They didn't have this big drop back here. In this photo, when you get right there is the end of the lip, and then, so you have the huge drop from there. They didn't have that sort of thing, so they were able to fix that one themselves. Bird's cost on the baseball field cost about $50,000 to repair, but that also included resodding the infield and a couple other things they did during that project. This one would cost about $20,000 to have professionally repaired. So what we're proposing is that we move forward with repairing this lip and allocating $20,000 from minor capital to do that. Any questions?
The only thing I've got is my issue will get taken care of, right?
Which issue?
Softball. The netting.
Through what funding?
I don't know. You tell me. Do I need to ask for that?
Well, are you asking me, because Bird used their whole $50,000 to fix the baseball field, that other schools
No.
That's how
We
just
gave
bringing
them,
on a
we
separate
gave
project.
everybody 50,000 back then.
Right.
Right. I'm just saying, we talked about the softball field with the netting to stop, either that or you gotta cut all those trees, which I wouldn't wanna do. And so we had talked about the netting being up there so that they don't have to send those girls over that hill every, about 15, 20 times a game.
Right, and that would cost $50,000. The only, okay, I'm having trouble understanding how the two projects are connected, other than everybody else was given $50,000
Right.
to do whatever they wanted to improve their athletic facilities.
Correct.
Bird spent it fixing their baseball. Well,
Correct.
now we're giving additional money to Hidden Valley to fix their baseball lip because they spent their $50,000 on
Correct.
other things. So if you're suggesting then that we should use minor capital to put up the net because they didn't get the same $50,000 option that everybody else got, then there may be some equity
Yeah,
things for the board to decide.
I'm not
there.
saying the $50,000 option. I'm saying what we did then, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but we gave appropriate money to the other schools because we spent it at Byrd.
Right.
We'd never really done that in the past. Now we're coming back with the issue that Byrd had to address in a lesser degree, and that's fine, that's okay. Then are we gonna do that with the other schools just like we did then?
Yeah,
That's my,
I think that's something the board has to decide.
does everybody understand that?
Yeah, I do. And just to be clear, when the $50,000 was given, I think Hidden Valley used a lot of the money for their soccer field and other things.
Oh, and that's
what
fine.
but what we did was, as a school board, we decided that the athletic department and the principal would kind of decide which was a priority. And I don't know why, again, I don't know much about baseball, but I don't know why that wasn't put up there as a priority. I don't know what other things they had to fix. So I see your point, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm not
I'm not
knocking it. It's
here
gotta be fixed.
fighting or not fighting for
Yeah.
this. I understand the irony in this.
Yeah,
and that all of a
absolutely.
sudden, they have this issue. So I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think we appropriate, if that's what we had to do it then, I don't know why we wouldn't do it now. Right, David? Right? You were the one asking for it. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I would not.
Why not? Is it different now?
Back then, that was a.
Oh, that was back then.
Well, we spent 20,000 or we spend $80,000 on paving one area. Do we give everybody?
No, I agree
$80,000 to pave?
100%, but the first time ever, when we had to do it at William Byrd, we had to appropriate everywhere else. I don't understand the difference.
I think what we realized, though,
The
as a
William Byrd Field was already the best baseball field out of the 5 baseball fields,
And we can,
At the
hey, look,
time.
we can go over that.
and that was not just
somebody's
a
got the
lip on
best
the
football
infield. That
and
was
all
a complete grading from the backstop all the way back.
Right. No, I get
But
it.
it was already the best baseball field of the 5 baseball fields. We went around and looked at them, and clearly,
Well, who's got the
when we
best
look
football? I
at
mean, I'm
those-
not going through who's got the best football field, the base tennis court. I'm not
Well,
going
at the
through
end of
all.
the day, it needs to be fixed.
That's right. That's right.
So we need to fix it. And I'm not familiar with what problem you're having out at Byrd.
They've been talking about it for 4 or 5 years, and we've tried to solve it a few times, and we just haven't been able to. And the only solution is to put that net up And what we're doing is we're sending girls down into the woods, every time to retrieve them, because there's, well, Shelley, you probably, your daughters, but, I mean, there's 15 or 20 a game goes over that, and they have to go down. I mean, shouldn't send these kids, not that they can't retrieve them, but, I mean, they're going in, coming back with ticks on them, parents are calling about ticks being on all that stuff. So anyway.
Well, let's put that on let's get an accurate estimate, an up-to-date estimate on what that
Okay.
would cost.
Good enough.
And bring it to the next, can you do that, Todd?
Yeah. Thank you,
An
Brent.
accurate estimate
For
what?
a netting system that would prevent that?
It's right at $50,000. We actually priced that last summer and reconfirmed pricing, I don't know, a month or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we
let's
actually
put it
have a
on,
bid on that.
let's put it on at the next meeting.
Yeah, there could be snakes down there.
Oh,
We
absolutely. It's
don't-
all
I mean,
kinds
obviously, we
of.
don't want a kid spraining something or breaking something on a lip. We don't want a kid getting bit by snakes or ticks or anything
Yeah.
else. So, I mean, these are reasonable requests, so.
Yeah. And I'm good. I
And I
agree.
know
These
that
need
we-
to be fixed. We ought to take care
I know
of
we're
these
not
fields.
endless money supply, and I know that Susan will be giving us some information on that here in the next week or so, but I think that, let's just go ahead and put that on and we'll see where we're at. Can you bring some pictures, Todd, of the net, like where would it be and all that? I mean, so we can
Sure.
see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Or I don't mind coming out there and meeting you, Tim. I mean, I believe you. I don't really need to see it.
Yeah, I'm happy to show it to you.
I don't know if anybody else
So
needs to see it.
Tim,
I've got
would we spend
video.
$50,000 somewhere else at another school? Is that what you're saying?
That's what you said last time. Is it different now? Am I missing something? That's what you asked for last time since we were.
I'm missing the tree that it's growing on, but
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely agree. That's what my point was then. But in order to get that issue fixed, I had to do that, right? So that's
I
all.
think the good news was we had new members on the school board and we're able to go and see all the
And you-
facilities.
I think we
And
take each
assess-
project for what it's worth, and obviously this needs done over at Hidden Valley.
Agree at 100%.
Should be done.
Should
It,
be.
it
Thanks,
did.
Todd.
It did draw insight into the facilities that had not been maintained and needed work.
And somebody's going to break their ankle on that field if you don't fix it.
Right.
It needs to be fixed.
Do we have the money right this second to do it feasibly?
Yes.
This, her lip, and I know we're getting ready to talk about a long jump runaway resurfacing. I mean, I
Yes,
guess
we-
let's just move on to that, and then we can talk about maybe
Okay.
putting this one and that one and yours in the consent agenda and be done with it.
Sure.
Yep.
Do you have to introduce it or anything, or do we just?
Do you want to say?
Yeah, it's 4.02 Hidden Valley High School long jump runaway resurfacing.
Okay, so this is a picture of the long jump, triple jump runway out at Hidden Valley High School on the track there. And this has actually been addressed at some point in the past as well, based on my conversations with the athletic director out there. So you can see that it is in terrible shape. It's delaminated, meaning the rubbers come loose from the asphalt surface underneath it. And I'll just remind the board that we're refinishing the entire track out at Cave Spring High School this summer. And so while they're here, the company that does that can come and repair this runway and save us a little bit of money because it'll be one mobilization. They'll just do them both at the same time and send the crew over from Cave to Hidden Valley to do it. The cost is about $65,000, which is a lot of money, but I'm not sure that we have a choice. You can see from the photos, it's used for track practice every day, so I'm not sure we have a choice on this one in terms of whether or not
What's a life
get it
on something
repaired.
with this rubber?
Well, you typically count on about 10 years. It depends on the product you put down. It depends on how thick you put it down. Remember that the track at Hidden Valley and the track at Cave Spring weren't done by the county. They were done by through fundraising, and then they put them down. So it does not appear that the same product was used that we've used on the tracks that we've done since then. It's not as thick. Yeah, so typically about 10 years though on the rubber. And I do think like something for the board to consider long term is we set aside money every year to replace the turf in the stadiums, and we probably ought to be doing the same thing for the rubber tracks. I think Cave Springs costing us $200 and some thousand to do the replacement out there, so it's an expensive proposition, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to set that as, now that we have rubber tracks at each school, to start setting that aside every year. Now, Mr. Greenway, you're probably going to want to be aware that William Byrd High School, so all the other schools have a high jump area that is rubber. It was done when the tracks were done. William Byrd High School does not have that, and they brought that to my attention at some point recently. Now, the issue out there is that the asphalt is not in a condition that would allow us just to top coat it with rubber. I mean, it's had to be paved, so it's got to be paved and then top coated, and I don't have a price to do that at this time, but certainly if that's something you guys want us to look at, we can do that. But it's going to be expensive. I mean, based on the other projects we've done, paving that area is probably going to be, $25,000 or so, and then, to put the rubber on top of it, you're probably looking at $100,000 total.
I think with the amount of money we're spending, we do need to look at putting in a maintenance plan.
Yeah.
A capital maintenance.
Absolutely. 300%.
Repair, because it's only going to go up. I mean, with petroleum, rubber,
I don't
oil
feel-
costs.
Yep, that's right.
Well, when you have one school fundraising and they had to do something at a reduced price, it's not going to last long.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
And now that we're maintaining them, I think that it's
Yeah.
imperative that we do that. We need to start setting money aside
Yeah.
so we don't get hit like this.
So what we're proposing is that we allocate $65,000 from minor capital special projects to resurface the runway at Hidden Valley High School.
Did you say the total cost for the track at Cave Spring is 200 and some thousand?
That's right.
And yet one runway is 65?
Yeah, and that's actually based on the quote from the company that's doing the track out there to repair it. And I will say that I was surprised by the cost also. But that's what that's what it costs. It's not something we can do ourselves. So we're
Is there any other
dependent on
companies
them.
that are under contract that we could get a bid from? I mean, would it be something, do you feel like that's a little excessive?
I, like Mr. Linden, have a hard time understanding how that one strip is $65,000 when the entire track is, 200 and some.
Well, especially when they're already going to be here, they're already going to have the materials.
Yeah. Now, that is the state contract, and that's the only company that we have found around this area who can apply the same product that we have at the other schools that we've used on the tracks. There's another company who does a product called Poured in Place that we use on the we did that out at Glenver that we use on the playgrounds, but that's not really a surface that would usually be used on a runway like this. So honestly, there aren't a whole lot of options. There's not a whole lot of options, and if we don't do it, if we wait and try to do it later and maybe find a company that's not in the state of Virginia but might be willing to come in and do it, then you've got the cost of bringing them in from out of town. I don't see that the price goes down by doing that.
Now, I'm ignorant to this because I did not run track, but obviously there's a difference in rubber and asphalt. Does every school have rubber throughout
To
the
my
state?
Not throughout the state, no. There's still a lot of asphalt tracks. Actually, my daughter runs track, so I have an occasion to frequent lots of tracks around the area, and there's still lots of asphalt tracks in use now. Everyone in the county's rubber now. So if the question was, could we just remove the rubber and leave the asphalt? Yeah, you could do that, but then they'd be the only school without a rubber runway.
So is there a huge advantage to having that rubber?
Well, rubber provides impact protection for the kids for long term, right? So if you're running on it every day, you're practicing on it every day, and then it also affects the jump because you get that spring off the rubber that you don't get off the asphalt. Now, did people, run on asphalt tracks for?
Well, but I guess if you
100
have a
years?
track, you would run on the track. You wouldn't run on the runway unless you were doing that specific event.
That's right.
So it wouldn't be like every day they're pounding on it for miles because it's a one event piece. But again, I'm not a track person, so you got to correct me. I have no idea.
maybe it would last longer then?
Well, that's what I'm thinking is, does asphalt last? I mean, you said 10 years on the
No,
rubber.
I'm thinking the new rubber track would last longer. You wouldn't have to replace it as quickly as the track because it's only
Well, the weather's probably what's wearing it down more than anything, I would think. I don't know.
I'd hate to see Hidden Valley be the only one that
Yeah,
had
I'm not saying
asphalt.
that. I'm just trying to get an understanding of just moving on in the future.
Is that on the school side of the track or
It
on
is.
the opposite side?
It's on the school side.
Just wondering if it
Let me
gets a
ask
lot
you,
of
is Bird,
traffic.
is Bird
with
the only one without a,
people walking
long
back and
jump
forth?
area?
Could it be done
I-
on the other side?
I
where-
don't think this is a result of traffic from the school. In talking with the estimator that came down to look at this for us and the AD, when this was redone several years back, the AD says that they did not do any sort of surface prep on there, meaning they didn't pressure wash the runway, try any sort of chemicals on it to clean it. They just basically came in and put the rubber on it. And the fellow from the resurfacing company said you absolutely can't do that, that you have to come in and make sure it's super clean before you put the rubber down. So I think this is just, poor installation. The
What-
track itself seems fine, and it was done at the same time.
How much do we have in the account? Susan?
Minor capital.
200.
So if you've got 215, 163.18 right now, if you do all three of these projects at the price that he's provided, you'll have 80,000 left in special projects from the capital.
Todd,
And
is
then
Bird the only one without a long jump?
What's that?
Is Bird the only high school without a long jump?
Bird has a long jump. They don't have a high jump. If
Or
I said
high
long
jump.
jump, I misspoke.
sorry, well, I
It's
may
for
have-
the high jump area. It's sort of a
When's the new budget?
semicircle that's.
Are they the only one that doesn't have a high
They're
jump?
the only one that doesn't have a
To when?
rubberized surface. Is at Bird High.
So they have a asphalt
They have an
surface?
asphalt surface. That's right.
So why did you say you'd have to pour asphalt and then rubberize?
The asphalt there isn't in a condition that would allow it to be.
So it's not even-
It's got cracks, got a little bit of grass growing up in it, that kind of thing. You can't put. You just do the same thing this rubber did. It'll just peel right up if you don't put new asphalt down there.
Okay.
How long is that?
So we should look into that.
What's that?
How long is that? How, is
Oh,
it 60
it's
yards?
almost
80
no.
yards?
It's probably the length of the entire straightaway, so it's probably about 100 meters, which equates roughly to 100 yards.
Does it need to be that long?
Well, this
I mean,
needs
it
to-
certainly when you
Yeah,
do a long jump,
it
you're
has
not-
it has pits at both ends, so
Oh.
you start in the middle and then you go both directions.
Oh, okay.
Long jump on one end, triple jump on the other, typically for a track meet.
And Bird is the only high school that doesn't have the long jump.
The high jump,
High jump, whichever,
Yeah.
whichever jump.
yeah, it doesn't have the high jump semicircle rubberized.
How much do we generally leave? And is there a certain number that we try to leave some padding in case something comes up in that account?
I don't know that we've necessarily had a target for that to leave in the reserves. You're getting close to spending it all, and it does not get refreshed until January. The only way money gets put into this account is at year end, when we close the books, and we have a surplus in the general fund. Half of that surplus, after we take out purchase orders that have been encumbered, we have to carry that budget forward to be able to pay for that, whatever is encumbered. Half of that money goes into major capital, and then the other half can be split between CSA, minor capital, which is this, technology, and fleet fund.
I was just wondering if we could wait to do the netting, Tim, until January, or till when it gets refreshed, because that's not something that you have to get right now.
Well, you won't need it until, for school
Spring.
purposes, you won't need it until February.
Yeah,
Softball's
so we
just
could
about over.
postpone that at least.
How long does it take to install something like that, to do something like that? I mean, 50,000, that's gotta be a decent
Probably
project.
in there.
It's the expenses involved in bringing the big poles in that have to go, and the net itself, because of the height of that net, for it to be effective, it's super. I don't recall the figure, but it's very large. The expenses is in bringing in the big poles and having to actually set them. I'll have to set those right outside the dugout. So time-wise, I don't think more than a week or two at the most.
If we pre-scheduled it and told them we were, I mean, I don't know how that would
That's
work, if
right.
we would have to give them a deposit or.
Pricing hasn't changed, since they priced it a year ago. I don't think, if you wanted to do it in February, we would probably want to notify them in early January, but otherwise, I don't think that's a particular constraint.
Okay with that.
Do they practice on the field in the off-season at all?
Softball?
Yeah.
They do.
In the spring. Fall.
And I think there's some other teams that use it during the summer as well.
Is anybody uncomfortable? I mean, Ken, what's your opinion on having $80,000 in that account before you do these 3 projects until January?
Yeah, I mean, it's always risk involved, but I don't think it's atypical. I mean, because we have CMP for.
We'll have the money. It's just not appropriated. And January it used to be September, October.
Well, the year-end close is June 30th money, and we don't finish the audit and bring it forth to you until the November work session. And then I will present the carryover report to you in November. That has to go to the county, and the county has to vote and set up the ordinance so that we can have the carryover. That doesn't happen until December, and so usually it's January by the time all the meetings occur and we can have access to the funds.
And to Dr. Nicely's point, we keep money in CMP so that if there were a maintenance emergency of some sort,
Or boiler go out or something like that.
right?
That's my
Right.
fear is if something
Right.
happened. Well, I'm fine with putting it on and just getting it done now. If everybody else
Especially
is,
if
I mean, if
people
you
are
guys
using
want to put
it
it
in
on the
Yeah,
next,
I'm good.
We talking about
all 3. Just moving all 3
Netting.
projects: netting, field, and runway.
In the runway.
Put it
do we
on-
have a report on the netting?
Oh, he said it was recently
He went out and got a.
priced.
What'd you say? Summer.
Yeah, we have a recent quote on the netting. Now, it's not on here, but we have the documentation for it. We weren't proposing the funding for it, so that's why it's not on here as a request.
Do I need to make a motion and add it?
That's
Well, I think we
board
just
procedure.
Or just add it?
put it on as a.
Consent.
Right, however you want to handle it, and that's what we would
I mean, we
typically
can
do.
put it on consent unless there's any discontent here about it. And if there is, then we can put it on as an action item.
Even though it wasn't on this as a work session, it can go on the consent.
Sure.
Okay, all right, then that's fine with me.
Put it on as an
I'd rather
action
get it
item.
done now.
You want to put it on as an
Okay.
action item?
David?
Your other option is, Mr. Kegels could put the report together and we could put it under information for the next work session. We have another work session.
Well, we
next
can
week.
just go ahead and do it.
We
We're
can have a work session
agreeing
next
to it.
week. Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
agreeing to it, so.
I won't be here, is the only thing.
I mean, I can bring it forth for you.
I mean, legally,
I would say put it on consent.
we can put it on the consent if the majority agrees.
Yeah, it's up to you.
It doesn't, I guess it doesn't have to be the work, yeah, that's fine with me. I'm
Could
good.
somebody present that information next week?
I can have somebody here to do it. It won't be me, but I'll have somebody else here to do it.
I don't have a problem with that because we're going to be we'll put in consent agenda at the end of June. So
It's fine.
if that's what you want, I don't have a problem with that.
It's fine.
All right, that works.
All right. Sorry for all that. All those questions being fired at you.
Oh, no problem.
4.03 Central Office Bus Loop.
Just make sure I recall we've talked about so many amounts, make sure I recall the cost for each of these options. We're going to look at 2 options and talk about why these things are necessary. Option 1 is $95,000. Option 2 is $35,000. Now, these would be funded through CMP and actually next year's CMP, so it wouldn't require anything from minor capital. So this is a picture of Mr. Grimes, the Associate Director of Facility Operations. His vehicle was just hit out here a week or so ago. This is the 3rd one that's been hit out here in the parking lot as a result of the A-STEP program being in the building and full-size school buses driving into the parking lot, not be able to turn around because the loop doesn't go all the way around the building, as I'm sure all of you know. It wasn't designed to for school buses to pull up into that area. So what we've done is developed a couple of options to eliminate that, which would require paving. Option 1 would have the buses enter as they do now and follow the path in front of the building, and this continue to loop all the way around, drop off the entry to A-Step is right here in the back, and then they would just continue around and then exit the parking lot there. This option would provide some additional parking, which is needed anytime there's a big event here, any sort of professional meeting that's going on here. We have people parking in the grass. You can see this is just a typical day when the photo was taken, and you can see how much of the lot's used even on a typical day. It is the most expensive one. It's, like I said, I think it's about $95,000. That price is based on square footage taken off of other projects that we've done. Pretty confident in that. That's, our paving is generally, we can estimate it pretty close. The other option is over here, option 2, this red area, and in this case the bus would come in and just make this turn here. We'd eliminate a parking spot there and there just to make the swing easier on the bus, but it would enter here, continue onto the new pavement, and then just loop around and come right back out. I think 3 vehicles being hit out there in a short period of time kind of speaks for itself in terms of is it dangerous? It's certainly dangerous to property, if not to people out there. And I did vet both of these with the A-Step folks to make sure that it was okay if the bus had to drop the students off down here and then they had to walk down the back side of the building to the A-Step entry, and they said that was fine. It was also fine for the bus to drive down the back and then drop the students off right there. So like I said, we would do this through CMP funding. It would be after July 1st, so we would do that next year. But we do it right after July 1st if the board chooses one option or the other. Or of course there's a third option, which is to leave it alone and do nothing. So really we're just looking for some guidance from the board here as to what what do we prefer to do.
What were the 2 prices on it?
It was I think it was $35,000 on that one and $95,000 on this one, on option 1. And again, those are rough. Those are
How many buses are
estimates. We're
going
pretty
through
close.
there?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. At least one a day. I don't know if if A-Step has more than one bus. I know sometimes you see shorter buses. Sometimes you see full-size buses. I didn't ask the question in terms of how many arrive. And I don't think it's a single bus because they pick up kids from different areas of the.
It's not
county.
many, but what they're having to do currently is they get down to that far into the parking lot and then make that 3-point turn.
Yeah.
which is
I
not
like
ideal.
option 2. 35,000 versus,
As long as they're okay with them being dropped off there.
yeah.
That would be the biggest issue.
I mean, some of these
When they
kids,
come and use that soccer field that you see down there on the end, where do those people typically park? Not that we need to necessarily worry about.
Those soccer fields were used by Parks and Rec, but they have not been used in the time since I've taken this position. So in the last 2 years, they haven't been used by Parks and Rec, to my
noticed them.
knowledge. Now I have heard that they were parking along the road out there, and then just kind of wherever you could park on the grass, park
Edge
on
of the
road.
grass is where I saw them.
Yeah. Okay. So little bit of a mess. I mean, if you have an event like that, that's not to say that during that time there might not have been parking open in the lot that they could have used. Of course, that's farther away, so people just have a tendency to park as close as they can. I think the bigger issue is when there's professional meetings being held here. Is we're parking cars on the grass during those events, which is the advantage to option 1. You pick up that extra parking. In option 2, you're not going to pick up any additional parking.
Actually
But it's
lose a couple
significantly
spaces.
less expensive. That's right. We would actually lose a couple of spots.
So your dean of ASTEP says it could be anywhere from 3 to 11 buses a day. It can vary widely.
well, and one thing, and I'm not speaking any ill will, but I do understand that some of these kids may have some challenges and struggles. So if we're going to drop them off, probably going to have staff out there to ensure that they're getting from point A to point B.
And I think they do. I think they typically greet them out there in the parking lot. So
I
I
think
also think
option
that
1
in
makes
terms
some
of,
sense.
what'd you say?
I said I think option 1 makes sense. Being able to get them closer to the door and adding some parking, long term. I mean, I know it's a little bit more costly, but
Well, then you're gonna have to maintain that as well. So now you've got a lot of parking lot you gotta maintain again in the future. Just a thought.
11 buses in one day, that's a lot.
Can be up to, yes.
What about when we get big deliveries and things like that, these big trucks that come in here? I mean, what are we doing with that?
We've had some trucks stuck right here. They got down here and decided they couldn't turn around, and so they were just going to drive through the grass, and then got in there and found out that area right at the end of the parking lot is a little bit of a marsh. We've had during the time I've been here, we've had a couple of trucks, stuck in the mud.
Our print shop is on that corner, so they're making paper deliveries.
Let's say you're probably going to get some pretty decent sized trucks in here. I would imagine.
Well, is it too tight with option 2? I mean, they said that you could drop students off there, it wasn't an issue. They were okay with that because you asked the A-step people. I mean, if it isn't an issue, I don't know why they would. If it is an issue, I don't know why they would say it wasn't. And if it's not big enough of an area for them to turn around, then I don't know if you would present an option 2 as an option.
Are you asking me if the buses can make the loop
Yeah.
at option 2?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're still going to be going around cars.
Yeah.
Is it
Maybe
not
in
as
reverse.
safe?
Maybe not in reverse, but
Are you
you're
still
still going to
going?
be.
Well, he's saying you're eliminating 2 parking spots too.
Right,
So that they
to
can
make
make-
this entry, more doable. Right now, you have to come and you have to make a 90 right there, 2 90-degree turns, and you eliminate a parking spot or possibly 2 on each end, and then you can make a much smoother sort of S turn through there. There is enough room down here. We would, before we would do that, we would get the transportation folks over here just to verify that, but I'm confident based on what we do at the elementary schools, this is a bigger, this would work. That would provide the swing for the buses. Like I said, you don't pick up any additional parking doing that, but it would meet the needs in terms of the bus not having to back up.
But we would have additional parking for public and things like that. I mean, so there'd be a bigger benefit to option 1. It just costs more and more to maintain.
That's right. I mean, it's more benefit, but at a bigger cost.
Is there another entrance on that side, or where would they be coming in if you park on that other side of the building?
Doors in the back. You do have the door right.
Yeah, there's
right back
doors
here.
on either end.
And the A-step program has grown. I mean,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll.
Well, I was going to say we know that we need to grow it even more
Yeah,
from what we're
continue to
being
grow.
told from staff.
Well,
Yes.
you have more A-step,
Yes.
and then you need more parking for A-step,
Yes.
then that makes sense in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And it does. I mean, I hadn't even thought about that, but it does solve the truck issue having to go down there anyway. To that end, I hadn't thought about that.
Which truck?
They make their paper deliveries to the print shop, which is in that far corner. So the tractor trailers have to go down that back side anyway.
Okay.
Well, but if you got tractor trailers going over it, won't it have to be heavier?
It would, the way we priced it out was for the heavy-duty pavement that we use in the
okay.
bus lots.
Okay,
If you're gonna put school buses on them, you need that.
gotcha.
And I say tractor trailers. That's what it is, isn't it?
Well, actually, the ones that I saw stuck back there were just large box trucks. They
Okay.
weren't
My fault.
tractor trailers. But if you did get a tractor, most of the tractor trailer drivers know to call ahead and ask if it's a complete, loop and that kind of thing. So generally, we don't get tractor trailers back there, but
And what was the price again, option 1? 90,
about 95,000.
95?
That's an
Yeah.
estimate, but like I say, fairly close.
Right, well, if we are going to end up expending A-step eventually and parking really is an issue, then
I
I'll
definitely
go
think
back
that,
to option 1.
I definitely think that we're going to be extending it. I mean,
Yeah.
just from the looks of how things have been over the past year or two.
It's been a great program. It definitely
Definitely make good
the
use
needs
of
there.
it and good for kids that need it.
All right, so is everybody back to option 1? David?
Yes.
That's fine with me.
Okay, well, that one doesn't actually require funding from the board. We'll do that through CNP after July 1st. So I don't even think that has to go on the agenda for future meetings. We just really wanted guidance from you guys in terms of what you wanted us to do.
Yeah, and you already have 275,000 sitting in parking lots for next year
Right.
on the CMP.
So that
Right.
gives you how many extra spots, at least?
It'll
30.
be basically what you have in parking on the backside right now. You're gonna take that, just rotate it around. That's where we got the dimensions for the width. So you're probably looking at 30 spots or so. Would be both sides. So
And you're not taking up the soccer field or whatever is over there?
no, you can see the diagram here where they had the 2 soccer fields laid out. But again, these haven't been used by Parks and Rec in some time. But you see where they were lined out right there, and the pavement doesn't go over that far.
Todd, you can about count the cars on this side probably to give you an idea on the other side.
Right.
So it's,
And you would just do the building side, right? You wouldn't do both sides. Or would you do both
Well,
sides?
no, we were looking at taking what's in the back and just rotating it around to the side of the building. So we were gonna pick up parking spots on both, so along the building and along the outside edge, and then a path for the bus, down the middle.
Okay.
All right.
4.04 Pogue Farm subdivision for Western Virginia Water Authority.
So the Water Authority asked us to subdivide a small piece of the Pogue Farm property, as shown on the screen there. It would be this utility lot right here in the corner. There's a nominal fee to us of $10. Essentially, we'd be giving them that small, I think it says 0.6 acres. It's actually a sewage lift station would go in there that allows them to run public sewer and public water on out to Back Creek Elementary, which is a huge benefit to the school system, but it also them being able to do that increases the value of Pogue Farm, which is under contract now. So we're proposing that we do as the Water Authority asked, and we subdivide this lot and receive $10 for the utility lot.
Does this affect the contract?
The potential buyer was involved in all of these discussions and approved this.
Okay, great.
Does it need to be that large? I mean, over 0.6 of an acre for a
Yeah.
utility lot seems very large compared to a lot of the utility lots that I've seen that they have.
I don't know the answer to that question. I suppose if we really needed to do that, we could have somebody from the Water Authority come to a future meeting and, ask that question directly to them. It's a lift station. It's not just, what you might typically have for a utility lot right there for valves and such. I mean, it's actually a.
Todd, when you say that, is it a pump station?
Okay, that makes a little more.
That's my understanding.
So it is a pump
some sort of
station.
pump,
Okay, so
yes.
yeah, it would take more.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
No issues?
So, if nobody has any issues with that, we would propose that one go on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
Sounds good. 4.05 BCAT property subdivision.
We did receive, this is the BCAT property, and we did receive a request from Roanoke County, and so this is provided for information purposes. Currently, the blue area and yellow area are part of a single lot that's owned by the school board where BCAT is located, and the softball fields actually are maintained and were developed by Roanoke County, an investment of over, they represented an investment over $1 million. The school system does not use those lots, those softball fields or any of that lot. And again, we don't maintain any of that. Parks and Rec does all of that. So with the construction of the new CTE Center and the possible sale of BCAT, Roanoke County has asked us to consider subdividing that lot and then transferring ownership to the Board of Supervisors of the section that has the softball fields on there. So that is presented for information purposes at this time. As the school won't be sold for a couple of years, action on it at the time being is not necessary.
So I guess if we left that, you'd have to give an ingress egress. If we agreed with that, right, you'd have to probably make some kind of.
Yeah, same agreement as they have now, which is we have essentially guaranteed them access to that field. So you have to enter through the BCAT property that,
Right, but if you sold that to somebody else, they may not want that ingress egress at the same location,
That's right. That would have to be part of the sale, was you'd have to continue to
which may hurt the sale a little bit,
guarantee access. That's right.
but nonetheless.
Where is the flood zone line on that property?
I don't know the answer to that. We can certainly look that up and get that information to you, but offhand, I don't know the.
Are all three
my
fields within
my
the
understanding
flood?
is the whole thing's in the flood zone, all the way out to the school. So
I thought it came right to the school.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it
think
did.
that's what we've seen that one time. I
Yeah.
can't remember what it exactly, but
we'll get you a diagram of it so that you can you can see that again, the
Parking
action
lot
loss
may
isn't
be like-
necessary now, so.
100 a year and the other 1,000 or something. I forget.
Well, we appreciate you, Todd. It's been a lot. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.